Hi and welcome back. In today's lesson about the question tag exercises, the exercises or the examples are going to be on there. So let's get started. Our first example says there is a problem. So we say isn't there? There are problems. Aren't there? There was a problem. Wasn't there? There were problems. Weren't there? There has been a problem. Hasn't there? There have been problems. Haven't there? There had been a problem. Hadn't there? There had been problems. Hadn't there? So you see it is not difficult. There is, isn't there? There are, aren't there? There was, wasn't there? There were, weren't there? There has been, hasn't there? There have been, haven't there? There had been, hadn't there? So we say there is a problem, isn't there? There are problems, aren't there? There was a problem, wasn't there? There were problems, weren't there? There has been a problem, hasn't there? There have been problems, haven't there? There had been a problem, hadn't there? There had been problems, hadn't there? Good, let's move on. Here it is, there is no problem. So we say, is there? There are no problems. We say, are there? There was no problem. Was there? There were no problems. Were there? There has been no problem. Has there? There have been no problems. Have there? There had been no problem. Had there? There had been no problems. Had there? So you see it is not difficult, right? There is no problem, is there? There are no problems, are there? There was no problem, was there? There were no problems, were there? There has been no problem, has there? There have been no problems, have there? There had been no problem, had there? There had been no problems, had there? I hope you are enjoying it. So let's move on. And here it is, there will be a problem. So we say, won't there? There would be problems. Wouldn't there? There can be a problem. Can't there? There could be problems. Couldn't there? There should be a problem. Shouldn't there? There seems to be a problem. Doesn't there? There appears to be a problem. Doesn't there? So you see it, just listen carefully. There seems, doesn't. There appears, doesn't. The same thing, doesn't. There happens to be a problem. Doesn't there? Quite simple, right? there will be a problem. Won't there? There would be problems, wouldn't there? There can be a problem, can't there? There could be problems, couldn't there? There should be a problem, shouldn't there? There seems to be a problem, doesn't there? There appears to be a problem, doesn't there? There happens to be a problem, doesn't there? Let's move on. And now we have they seem, not seems. There seem to be some problems, don't there? There happen to be some problems, don't there? You see, it is not seems or happens. There appear to be some problems, don't there? There seemed, past tense, simple past tense. There seemed to be a problem, didn't there? There appeared to be a problem, didn't there? There happened to be a problem, didn't there? There used to be a problem, didn't there? There didn't used to be a problem, did there? So you see, it is not difficult. There seem to be some problems, don't there? There happen to be some problems, don't there? There appear to be some problems, don't there? There seemed to be a problem, didn't there? There appeared to be a problem, didn't there? There happened to be a problem, didn't there? There used to be a problem. There used to be a problem, didn't there? There didn't used to be a problem, did there? Good. These are here we will have the last examples. So there won't be a problem. We say, will there? There wouldn't be problems, would there? There can't be a problem. There can't be a problem. Can there? There couldn't be problems. Could there? There shouldn't be a problem. Should there? There doesn't seem to be a problem here. Does there? There doesn't appear to be a problem. Does there? They didn't seem or they didn't appear to be a problem. So we say, did there? Not difficult, right? Won't, will, wouldn't, would, can't, can, couldn't, could, shouldn't, should, doesn't, does. Very simple, right? I hope you enjoyed it. And I say, that's it for now. Until next time.